looking around a little bit, see a few people pop up in here. Just posted a few spots over on the Facebook there. Get this kind of so I can knock it off. And I'm gonna need some eyes. One, two people. Give it a few minutes more and see what happens. That'll work. Yes. Pull these pieces out. Or this piece out, I should say. Don't want to need it right now. Somewhere or another, my cat took off running earlier and knocked a few things around, and I had this one from the other kit out, and I don't know where the heck it's at. Pull those out. So I'll pull it out of there, and then I'll find it. Sooner or later, it'll pop up here. It's not too long, so I'll be moving a lot of things around, and we'll get that in place. So I needed another one for this one. Let's see. So I got a little piece in the mail. It's not for this rig, but it is for one of them. It's for the red chip. But you've seen the other version that I got yesterday. Just another DR's Drag Race Concepts rear body mount. This one will be going on the tarp. Because the gray, they only had red and gray available, or the Exotech had blue, a few other versions out there, but nobody had a green, so I went with the Drag Race Concept gray on that one. Put that over there with it, get it out of the way. So, body mounting, this is how most people would mount it. They'd mount this to the rear shock tower or their front shock tower, whatever they want to do with it. And then they would, install your post and put your, height sets with your screws, and then put your things down there. It goes up top, body clips or the screw buttons, various versions of them on top, holding it down. That's what normally you see. That's what is normally done. But if you haven't figured it out, that's not me, and I'm far from normal. I don't have any problem saying that. My brain does not work in that respect, or I should say in that go with the flow kind of category. I'm an always outside the box thinker. I'm kind of like the guy outside the party, but I'm at the party, but I'm outside the window looking in and observing everything going on and taking note of it. I kind of take that viewpoint when I look at things. So when I looked at this and how I wanted to mount it, my brain's going and I'm thinking, and I see a few things here and there, and I notice a few things, take notice some details, and I got to look and I went, well, I know how I can get that mounted. And the first thing I got to do is cut this thing down. This is actually going to be for the front. This is typically your rear shock tower mount, but in Tim's world, this is the front shock, or the rear shock tower mount for the body mount for the shock tower. But in Tim's world, this is the front shock tower mount. So we're going to come straight down this edge here. Try to keep it as lightweight as possible. So I'm just going to cut that puppy down. Rock it back and forth. Oh, that's right. I got to put something on that rubber band here earlier because it did shake a little bit. I think this will work pretty darn well. There we go. Yeah. bad enough without the thing the way it is. Move this back though, because I can't put that much pressure on top. That should be better. Okay. Yeah, there's probably a bunch of easier ways of doing this, but trying to make it nice and clean. That right there. Kind of weird lately. There's been two mail trucks running around, one dropping off packages and one just doing normal mail. I don't know if they're that far behind or if, you know, FedEx or UPS is backed up that much that the post office is taking over stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff flopping through. All right, so we got that off. Now I'm not going to need this block out here, and I guess I'll keep some of that just for now for mounting purposes. So this whole outside mount block here has to go in my world. So we'll get this little puppy cut off here. Some pretty thick stuff right here. Up here right now, a little bit more able to push. And of course I'll be doing this on the other side. Gotta be careful because I don't want to slap this thing. I'm cutting on an angle, so when it gets through, this knife will hit the glass and I don't want to slide right into my other fingers. So if you're ever doing something like this, be careful because you will cut your fingers down to the bone, if not off. Even being careful, it's possible, so just be aware. I'd hate to see somebody try to do what I'm doing and end up cutting their damn finger off because I didn't say don't do this at home. So don't do this at home. Find a different way. Side cutters work pretty good. Not quite as clean of a cut, but you can always file it down. But if you're really careful, and really careful, I mean, you know, you can do it like this and just take your time and don't cut your damn fingers off. Let's see. Almost there. There we go. That's why you need to be careful. So, Tim, what the hell you doing? You're screwing that body mount all up. You would think so. So this is going to have to set about like this, which I guess would be about, yeah, it's about right. Oh, yeah, too bad I can't put them out here. Oh, you know what? Jeepers creepers, I might be able to. That might actually even work better. I know you're all looking, anybody who's going to be watching is going, what in the world is he doing with that body mount? Well, obviously it's, you know, not going to go on top. I'm going to have to take a look at something here. So we're going to make sure this is setting decently and not too floppy. And we'll grab our body. using the Chevy C10 body. Kind of lining her up in the center. Kind of nice. This thing's got actually got a center mount hole. So I kind of see where center's at. I got the foam bumper part off. Make sure my rear's lined up. It's about where the rear goes. So if you were watching there, you ever see I was putting them up in here. I wonder where that would mount to. Geez, that is close. That might be able to do something with that. Damn. Almost should have left it on there. Yep, I almost should have and could have. So if I use this one as a temp, I'm gonna have to cut this end off it though. This inside piece and get rid of that center. That's gotta go for sure. So let me do this one. Leave that piece for a minute. Get a little bit. There we go. Better cut down the side. Okay. Okay, now turn this a bit and take a look a second time with this piece mounted on here. You know what? I think it'll work the other way anyways if I just go to the top. Of course, am I centered here? Pretty close, but that would be part of the problem. Bring it back to center. At least be close to it. Yeah, I don't like the body post sticking out. You know, if you're going for a scale look, unless you've got, little hood pins, or you could put like, drag race cars and a lot of, street cars had little elastic because everybody got rid of the, little thing, pull levers because they were always such a pain in the butt. So unless you've got those things, it's not going to look very scale having nubs and body clips or whatever, the screw ends out in the middle of the thing. So I'm looking at other body mount options. And this Proline truck has very uniquely, or very neatly, I could say, mounts rivets in the bumper. And the rivet position in the bumper pretty much lines up as you get her centered. Make sure I'm in the center here. It's got to be well, to be right. Lines up with the two spots in this on this mount. So I can literally show you what I mean. Get over here so I can get in front. So you're looking at the body, and you got these rivets, and of course this rivet out here. These are the bolts that stuck out of the original Chevy truck that you mounted the front bumper with. And of course we got our Proline piece here, which used to be the back. I've cut off, and the holes in it, as you see, these father muckers line right up. No, I'm not always a kid-friendly show, but these line right up. Of course, there's a little difference. It's got a little, angle on that, but not a lot. So it's gonna, I think it's gonna actually, I'm just, almost makes me wonder, did Proline make this on purpose, because waiting for me to cut this, because these things are gonna line right up. So what I'm gonna do, taking the time and already did the back. I mean, why it's kind of back there out of the way till I can get ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off, and let me get this one evened up. See what we can do here. Back to the don't try this at home, kids. This is how people lose fingers and stab all sorts of things that they shouldn't be stabbing with an X-Acto knife and a sharp-ass blade. Care must be taken. Back a little bit farther. My other thumb for just a little added pressure. I'm getting there. Off like a bullet. Okay. The unused portions, at least for now, that gives us two opposing mounts. Okay, I want to clean this side up here a little bit. Make that cut a little. Ain't not gonna see it, but I'm kind of anal retentive like that. I want to clean my edge up here just a smidgen. Kind of make this edge a little bit more of a clean straight cut. Want it to look good. Now we can actually go like this. Shavings. We'll just clean that edge right up. Good enough. So a couple scrapes and a little fineness now. Make a couple fine holes right here. I mean, these things even got little divots in the middle of it. It's like when they made the bolt mold for the bumper, they actually got a little, center spot in it. You only need a hole just big enough to put a chink of a bolt through. You do want to be centered with it. And I think I've even got a couple 2.5 millimeter. I think I can use 2.5 in that. I think I got a couple 2.5 millimeter stainless bolts that I can run in there. Just enough to take off and get that hole in there. And do this one. This is actually pretty flat in the bumper area here. Got maybe just a slight tuck backwards right here. Using my thumbnail to push it upwards a little bit to make sure I stay kind of towards the center. I think that will work. Pretty close. Far ones were getting a little too far off. I want a little stability on the front to help hold it snug so it ain't shaking under the speed and wind. Wasn't too bad. Just gently work it through. Okay, one more. This one in. Yeah, was looking at this earlier as I was eyeing up what to do here. Be careful and scratch the body, and you're gonna have it on you. Trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do with it, how I wanted to mount it. I knew I wanted to try to, mount it so you couldn't really see the body clips, or they're, integrated where they're invisible, so to speak. And I got looking at these parts and started imagining, and this is where we're at. All right, so I think that'll work, at least for the trim. And there, grab my knife and try to clean up some like scrap here around the edge. Okay. Good. A little bit of scrap around here. Most of it's just this outer wrap, or some of it's the outer wrap, but a little bit of that body stuff's in there. And I'll clean it up a little bit better. Just before I paint it, I'll tidy up these little spots. So I kind of clean off this extra little smooths and run the reamer through it. See the reamer again. Push those things up a smidge. Kind of stick out a little bit naturally because they're little mold marks that are supposed to be the bolts that hold the bumper on. So they're there anyways. But with my idea, I could probably take them all the way down, but I don't want to. Just because I don't want to create a big old hole. Now, let me see what I've got here. And nothing in a 2.5 in that bag. Where that comes. Let's see, but I do have some 2.5s in one of these bags. And silvers, I think. There's a 2.5, but that's a capper. There's 2, 3, 4. I think I got them right there. And this other bag I had open earlier. Uno, dos, tres, and a cuatro. All button heads, 2.5 millimeter. Pardon me. Let me see which. I think that was too small. This one goes in here nicely. It's that one. And let's put that up there. This forward side. This is this side. So here, I'll actually spin this around. Maybe I'll slide it back a little bit. Just get a little more front spot. So, as you can see, I took in the 2 rivets, body reamed those out. So this is going to go on this side, and we'll do the bottom hole. Just big enough. This is the only thing I wasn't sure of, is 2.5 gonna work in there. Oh, I'm gonna need a 3mm. Although I could actually just drop a couple extra holes, which would, if I raise that up, that would actually lower it down a little bit. Or I could just fill that with some shoe glue, because it doesn't need to be super strong in there. But it needs to be strong enough. Let's see if I can get them in there and get them to hold. Get them screwed in anyways. Doesn't have to hold perfect, just gotta hold. Tension on it from each side, just not quite being perfectly center in the hole, but that's okay. Back in there all the way, we'll fix that. And do the same thing. Grab that other one. That one looks a little dirfed out. So the screw head looks a little choofed. Big time. I do have one more in there, it looked like. I think I probably will end up adding my own holes just below the 2 that are in their stock. Just because they're not quite centered, but so darn close. It could be. So I may end up having to put a small washer or something behind the top piece just to push it back a little bit. I'm going to take this one out because it's in pretty tough shape. Now I'm looking at it. Looks like I used it in something that's got all beat up. And gonna do this other one. Just one more in here. There's some stainless. No, not in this one. Maybe it was. Oh, no, it was in that one. Chase it through the bag. So actually I might be able to add a couple different holes, and small enough I put them in the right place and do a little bit of mounting tweaking. Be able to get them set in the way they need to be. They're a little off right now, so that way they pull in, because it will pull a little bit. So let me see, I've actually got, I should have 2 real small nuts in this bag too. I think that'll go on there. Just regular flat nuts. Yeah, there's both of them. So let me see if I can do that. Take and loosen the bottom up. Take the top out, at least out of the top spot. Let it slide. Get her up out the way. Grab a little nut here. Put that on the back of the screw and create a little washer just to help hold that thing off. Sure, that will. That's a 2.5. Might not be. Don't look like it is. Okay. So those aren't 2.5s. Close, but not quite. All right. So let me grab a couple of the small washers that I got rid of earlier. I did a couple of changes, and we'll add 2 of these behind each top nut or bolt and try to push it back a little bit. Level that mount off with that. Might have pulls a little bit, but I don't want to over pull. So let's try that. So we'll take 2, put the rough sides back to back, and then go right on there. Grab the mount. So that there. I'm gonna go ahead and just put the bottom in, and it's just gonna thread into the spot. Add a little bit of tension because it's at an angle. So that one goes like that. And now I should be able to thread this one in a bit because it's got a little angle to it, so it's adding a little tension and grabbing the threads. Because I think M3 heads would be too big. Okay, do that to this side. The nice thing is once this is done and mounted out, I won't have to ever take it off again. Your body be painted, it can get mounted on, and it could stay permanent on the body until it gets smashed. And I'm thinking this will work for almost pretty much any of these bodies. If they've got an old school type front mold bumper that has the old type bumper that has, like, you know, the bolt in the front of the bumper like the C10 does. I think that'll work on pretty much any of these bodies. 2 of those. Should probably put it down like this in the first place. It'd be a little bit easier to deal with than trying to do it upside, right side up. all the insanity. Let's take a look. Let's see. So right now, this is just again just temporary, trying to get it all lined up and see if it's going to work like it looked like it would in my head. No. Shmizzle shmazzle. So let me throw these things in here. Fill this bag back up with these items. Get this out of my way. Earlier. Go there, you can go there. If anybody was looking, if you're out and you find the funny car drag wheels and you wanted to run them, but they're a 14mm hex, that can be a little bit of a trick to come up with a 14mm hex that's going to work on your two-wheel drive Slash. I come across these on eBay. It's G-Tech or Guitar Tech. I'm assuming the guy's a musician. It's a 12mm hex on the back. I'll pull it up to a 14mm hex. I do have a pair of the wheels, but because they are the offset is right at the back of the rim, it really pushes them out. But you can see it's 12mm on the inside, got a little T bracket, and then 14mm outside, little adapters. They work great. Things fit right in there. I'll stick those in there. Fit right in there, but they are, like I said, the offset on the drag wheels, I didn't even think about it for this. It would push your wheels out almost an inch, half and 3/4 of an inch on each side. That's per side, not just total. So it really adds a lot of width to the back end, to the wheels, not to mention the wheels themselves, because of that offset. So let me go ahead and slide this back up here. So you seen what I did there. I just kind of mounted these things, lined them up with what used to be the two front bumper bolts in the mold, body mold. Took my reamer, put small hole in, big enough for those 2.5s to get through there, and then cut up, as you seen earlier, cut up the Pro-Line body mount. I do have another one. What was the rear body mount? Oh, no, I don't either. This one is a slightly different pack. It was the rear body mount, which had the two, goes to the rear shock tower and has the two pegs to go down. Well, I cut it all out, and this used to be on this side, and this was on this side, but they worked great. I'd say I'll add a couple holes in there and have to do a little bit more, spacer on the top piece. Looks like my plastic bumper, or my plastic shock pistons from the cheap Chinese shocks are going to work in that. And basically I just set the back down and the front sets down. Of course, you got to have a place to get them mounted. I'll have to do a little tweaking, but I'll be able to mount these and get them mounted right in here, nice in place. Now, like I said earlier, it sounds like the girls are back. I have been already working on the back, and you kind of see what's going on there. And we'll pop the body back off. Hang this up real quick. And as you can see, not your standard installation. So took the Pro lines, the long post, and they're usually sticking up, right? Sticking up off the back. I cut one hole off. You cut for the first hole and cut at the second hole. So I cut the second hole off of the end of the post. Drilled a hole right at the end of the post. We're going right through the first hole now on that end of the post, and go sideways with it. And then, you know, put a bolt through the bottom. I had them mounted on the bottom. They were pretty low, which if you want to get lower, that's fine. So these can go to the bottom. These can come to the inside. You can just flip it right around 180 degrees, that kind of thing.
Here, honey, for your coffee.
Woohoo! It's already been hit.
That's right.
I can feel it's already almost half gone.
I shot out the bottom.
Yeah, I know, that's fine. I am
And I just
giving you
put-
shit,
and I
baby.
just
You bought it, not me. So
filled my glass, so.
you bought it. I'll enjoy it.
I saw a tiller,
Yeah, I've seen a few of them out there.
$199.
Used?
No, brand spanking new.
Yeah.
Craftsman.
Craftsman's pretty cheap. Probably front tine.
It is. The
No
rear
thanks.
tine, I
I
would
know.
assume so, because
Front,
they had a rear tine one there
front
that
tine.
was like $800.
I'm getting too old for front tine anymore. So anyways,
Well, aren't we all?
I've mounted these, like I say, in a not so conventional way. So I've got my Exotech mount here, and like I said, I cut the ends off, one hole, so I had a hole to put the bolt through, and slid them through. And I know you're asking, well, why didn't I leave them right on the end? Because it would have been, you know, just coming straight out the end, one piece. And it's because I want them to swivel. Because when I'm done, this can set. And now you can kind of see why I was doing the front like I was. Because that allowed me to just kind of drop it on and get that mounted. So when you see me putting it on earlier, you couldn't see what was going on. Well, it goes right there. I mean, these pieces lock right up, and when you get it centered, of course, they'll slip right into place, and that's almost centered right there. I mean, it's pretty darn close. That's about the back, and that's about the front. But on the back, as you can see here, moving around here, give you a better view. Not quite as high as I'd like it, but pretty close. That'll mount just about like that. Let's see, I guess we're off here a bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So, okay, you could put your little caps right there. Or, if you're Tim and your brain don't work like other commonly thinking brains, you can come up with a second idea using the same pack. Still use at least one set of your pieces, but these will mount, you know, basically like so. And again, we'll need a little bit of a cut angle on this side. Oh, you can't see that because I'm thinking the camera's still up on top. I'm gonna have to cut an angle right here on this area, right down here, just a small angle. So these, you know, they're angled there, so they can set upright. So I'll cut an angle in that, and then these will mount. And kind of do it this way again. Use a mount just like so. And I could even go down a little bit, and I'll add a second screw through it too, so they can't do this. It'll be a pretty solid straight up mount. And what will happen from that mount is the wing will set. And yeah, I know the wing's got to be below the roof. And of course, this is the full tuck. The top of the wing, I believe, is right. I'm gonna have to double check this, but yeah, I think this is it right up in here. So I can set this, and of course, I could mount this up and down to lift. Now, I know this wing's meant to go kind of right on the deck and mount off the sides with the canards. but my brain don't work like that. So I'm gonna end up some way or shape in this route. This will be mountain, you know, here and there, and that's how the thing's gonna mount up. Is that kind of out of the box and definitely not the normal thought process when it comes to mounting bodies. But in my brain, that's how it works. And that's what I see. Oh, yeah, looking at that going, oh yeah, there's ways to do this. More than 2 ways to skin a cat. So yeah, basically this is gonna be it. Be mounted somewhere in this area. This is my 13.5 rig, so I do have to look a little bit. I won't have to cut out the back. It'll just be trimmed normally right across the back of the bottom of the back bumper. I'll leave the bumper and everything cut right down the side, but from the sides forward, I'm gonna leave her as low as I can. Now in the front, I got room to go down farther, so I could actually lift that and move that whole mounting block up and mount it so it's lower. So I'll wait until I redo the front until I know for sure where I'm setting at height. But I don't know. Well, maybe we can come back down here for a second. There. This might be a little bit better. Yeah, you can see the wheels are actually sticking out underneath right there, just barely. And they're well centered. I mean, this setup, like I say, is pretty slick, because you can see in the wheel wells, the wheels are pretty well centered all the way around, front and back. Of course, it goes back a tad, but not much, because I have that little bit of foam in the front bumper area, which will add a little bit of padding that's going to have to move into. But yeah, once this is all hooked up, you should be able to lift. So put this back up here. Come down a bit. So that's how my brain works when I think about mounting bodies and keeping them. It's like I say, these two will spin, and I'll loosen them up a little bit so when you go to lift, it'll lift up nice and easy. And I'll make a prop so it can prop up, and when it's ready to race, drop down, slip in a pin or two, or screw a bolt on the bottom. Ready to go. Plenty of room to reach up here if I need to charge. Hook a charger in. So yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna go with it. So if you liked what you saw, you think that's kind of neat, go ahead, comment, please, like, share, subscribe. But yeah, unconventional pro-line mounting of a drag body 101, not 101. Like I said, I think a little outside the box. And I can see a lot of people looking at this going, oh shit, that's pretty bad. Because the nice thing is, you won't even see the body mounts. You won't even be sure how you'll see the outside, and they'll look like and I'll do them silver or whatever color I end up doing them, so they look like they're metal, as opposed to the Proline black. But you're gonna look at, everybody's gonna see that and go, how now you got that body mounted? All they're gonna see is the body, and in the front, of course, 4 bolt heads. So I think that turned out pretty cool. Got those 4 bolts, and once it's all painted, they'll look like, and I may even dig these out and actually put M2 bolts in there and just shoe glue them in, just so they have that look. I mean, that looks, the camera doesn't pick up how realistic that looks. You can see through it and see the mounts, but when you look at that, it looks like I've already got them painted silver. No. So yeah, there we go. Tim's wild world of wacky ideas coming to fruition. So thanks a lot. Like, share, subscribe. Help me grow the channel. If you like this idea, or you think it's stupid, whatever, leave a comment. Thanks. Bye.